Have a few minutes? You won't believe what you can do with it. Open a Regions checking account online in as little as 5 minutes. Then enjoy award-winning service and banking tools and tech that help you live in the moment. Learn more at regions.com/live in the moment. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. It's time for Gwinnett Business Radio. Gwinnett Business Radio is presented by Regions Bank. Brave the beginning. Member FDIC.
And greetings and salutations, everybody. It is your slightly annoying host, Stephen Julian. I am officially on the clock here at Gwinnett Business Radio with my fantastic sidekick, my co-host, my compadre, he who is known as Harper LaBelle.
You're in a good mood.
I am in a fantastic mood.
See, fantastic is just shy of like phenomenal, but
Yes.
It's so much better than I'm in a good mood.
Would you like to know why?
I do. Okay, I do want to know.
I have two reasons. One, we have a fantastic guest who we're going to get to in a second, Dani Kortava from Healing Hypnosis with Dani. Second is because I'm feeling in the spirit of love, and I think you can give me more information that might help with that.
Well, Valentine's Day is coming up. Is that what it is?
That's part of it.
Do you already have your wife's gift all ready to go?
I do.
Do you have flowers already ordered?
I don't want to give it.
candy?
I don't want to give it away on the air.
Come on, you can give it. No one's going to know.
Are you going to say no one's really listening?
No,
is that
I
what you were about to say?
I was going to say no one's going to share
No,
what you're going to give
because it's such
you
a good
might have a
gift.
great idea that someone go. I should do that.
Check
That's
me
a
out
great
on
idea.
instant message me or check me out. Give me a DM over social media, and I'll give you the tips and the ideas for $9.99.
When I order my wife the frying pan to say, "Hey, cook some more good food for me," it doesn't really go over as a really.
I bet
good
it does not increase
Valentine's
the
Day.
love in your household.
No.
What would increase the love?
Well, talking to the folks at Subaru of Gwinnett, that would do it. Hey, what makes a Subaru a Subaru? It's the love that they have for what they do. You can enjoy the big savings and hassle-free experience at Subaru of Gwinnett, where people sell cars. If you're looking for a 2023, maybe a 22 that's still on the lot, new, previously enjoyed, they have it. Do the comparison. You'll be so impressed with the inventory that Subaru of Gwinnett has. So visit them at SubaruofGwinnett.com. Join their family today. Come and see the difference.
Fantastic. So that's
your word today. You've used that 4 times now, and we've been on the air for 2 minutes.
phenomenal. Okay, so we're going to get to our wonderful guest who is waiting patiently to tell
For us to get rid of all of our yakking that we're doing.
Yes.
But she could break it down as to why we're doing this.
and she could heal us of our biggest problems.
I definitely need that.
So speaking of that, Healing Hypnosis with Dani, we are pleased and honored to welcome Dani Kortava. Dani, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I think when someone says hypnotherapy, you could talk to 15 different people and get 15 different opinions, answers, thoughts of what that is. As someone who practices it, why don't you tell us quickly what hypnotherapy is and what you do?
Well, people normally think of stage hypnosis, where, someone's pulling out their pocket watch and you're getting very sleepy, and I don't do any of that. Although I have been known to hypnotize some husbands into doing all the chores. It's a good thing.
Hey. Come on.
There are a bunch of people listening and go, wait, just skip to the end and give me the contact information. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, so hypnotherapy is a very effective way of healing from the inside out. A lot of people carry a lot of trauma, stress with them, and so it's a great way to step into your confidence, release some of that old stuff, and be more of yourself, more focus, motivation.
So what is the process then? So again, a lot of people think of the watch and a show where it happens instantaneously. Mm-hmm. Is someone going to walk in and all that's going to happen in 15 minutes or less? Or talk a little bit about the process that you go through.
Sure. So I set up a program because I am in it for healing. And so, I'm very familiar with what's missing in the world, to feel heard, to feel validated. And so when you sit in my chair, which is a zero gravity chair, by the way, once you sit in there, I create a very safe space for you to open up. And I lead you into a very deep relaxation, the deepest relaxation you've probably ever experienced. And when you're in that state, it's a theta brainwave that you're in. And you're just very suggestible. And so it's kind of like cleaning house, like spring cleaning, or even, I love gardening. We plant some new seeds of positivity. We release some of those old and limiting beliefs. And then like anything you water, just begins to grow. Roots begin to form, maybe even a little flower will bloom, you know? So it's a really gentle healing process to step more into yourself.
I would imagine that, because you mentioned something about traumas and incidences in the past, that with a child, there aren't as many. There may be one or two, but with an adult, especially our ability to hide or to put those in a closet and leave them there, never to go again, it must be critical for you to go, okay, we do have some trash that we need to get out
Absolutely.
of your life in order for us to begin the healing process. How does that come into play for you in particular, to where you can earn the trust of somebody that you're sitting across from, to where they would want to tell you or reveal some of those things to you?
Well, sharing how the brain works, and even just learning that when we're young, you know, our role models, we're watching. We're just little sponges at certain ages of our life, and we're absorbing our environment. We're absorbing how our parents cope with stress, even how they interact with each other. And that's beyond our parents. That's any role models we have, grandparents, teachers, siblings. And so we're just absorbing these ways of being, these ways of thinking. And so, you know, I share how the brain works, and that it's really, there's always a positive intention behind everything that we do. And so sharing my own story as well, you know, and so that allows people to feel a little bit safer and open up. And I've had a few men that, you know, surprise themselves with how open they become. Men tend to be a little bit more closed up. Women sit on my chair and immediately they might start crying and just, you know, they're really desperate for that help.
So 5 minutes in, she's got men doing all the chores and opening up
Yes.
when they kind of maybe built some walls in talking with you. So one of the things I was going to, and you mentioned your story. So let's just go ahead and open that door.
Sure.
How did you get into doing hypnotherapy?
Well, I do have a history in hypnobirthing. I used it with all three of my children. And so there was a point in time where I found myself in a really low place. I like to say that it was like when I was born, I was handed a tall glass. And as I experienced life, my environment, my own relationships, heartbreak, disappointment, loss, it's like I was collecting all of these memories in this glass. And after a while, it just became heavy. And my life seemed to be perfect from the outside looking in. You know, I was married for over 10 years. I have 3 healthy children, a great career in real estate. But how I felt about myself wasn't so great. And so I just became desperate for help. So I Googled hypnotherapy in Atlanta on the brink of a divorce. And it was the most pivotal moment in my life. I had a handful of sessions with my hypnotherapist, and he sprinkled some seeds of positivity into my subconscious, helped me to release old and limiting beliefs. And then I just became inspired. And I was like, how can I not share this with the world? I want others to feel the level of healing that I'm experiencing. And so I joined his training class. And like I said, pivotal moment ever. It was amazing. I just became dedicated to learning from the best and learning as much as I could. And so as I started seeing people and witnessing their transformations, the passion grew even more.
And how long have you been practicing now as a hypnotherapist?
So it's been a couple of years altogether.
Okay.
And it's just, I feel like I'm home.
Yeah.
This is where I'll be forever.
So one other thing, kind of going back to, for someone who's never experienced hypnotherapy, let me just give a quick analogy. If I started getting into exercising, the styles of exercise that I could do I do cardio? Do I do strength training? Do I do, CrossFit? And there's vast differences between the
Sure.
different types of exercise. Would the same thing be said, or some level of the same thing be said of people practicing hypnotherapy? Are there differences where if someone went to a different hypnotherapist, and I'm not asking you to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that, but are there some differences in the way you do hypnotherapy versus if they went somewhere else to get hypnotherapy?
Yes. A lot of hypnotherapists will have a niche. They will specialize in one thing. If you want to do a regression of old memories, or if you just want to quit smoking. So there's several different techniques that we have. Most of us can do most things, but some of us specialize in certain things. And so I specialize in trauma, but I also help people release phobias, fears. I was afraid of spiders for over 30 years. I couldn't even look at a spider. If I saw a picture, I would cringe and cry and scream. It was crazy. And I've released that thanks to hypnotherapy.
So one of the pieces of information you gave us, so your personal freedom, eliminating fear, phobias, overwhelm, stress, imposter syndrome, weight loss, smoking, and more. So there are different avenues you can go down, but it really kind of comes out of this releasing trauma, overcoming fear, and then some of the freedoms that come out of that. So the other question that I was going to ask is, as you were describing it, and as someone who's never gone through hypnotherapy myself, as you said some of the things, I was thinking, this sounds, there are definite elements of counseling in this. There are definite elements of, if I've sat with a counselor, if I've gone to a psychotherapist, or some of those other avenues. So and you kind of nodded. So there are some elements of that. What's that extra step that hypnotherapy will do? Is it that actually there is hypnosis going on, or is it the zero gravity chair? I mean, so break that down for me a little bit and educate me as someone who's never done it.
Okay, so, traditional talk therapy, people usually have a relationship with their therapist for years and years on end. And I give you tools to use. I set up a program that is, let's say 9 to 12 sessions. Those are usually our larger programs. You meet once a week for about an hour, and I give you tools that you can use for the rest of your life. You will do a self-hypnosis through an audio file, so you'll just be brought back into that calm state of relaxation every single day. And so it's a coping mechanism for you. Rather with talk therapy, you understand, you kind of open that can of worms and you understand what it is that you're dealing with. Well, hypnotherapy gives you that coping mechanism to deal with what it is that you're experiencing.
So rather than having to do counseling for years and years and years, this program will help you. And maybe there's an occasional tune-up that might be needed, or going down another avenue. But instead, you're trying to get to the end within a few sessions. And in your own story, it was just a few sessions when you began to have those tools.
That's
correct?
right. Yes, I had 6 sessions of my own. And, some people can be good with 3 sessions. If you want to quit smoking, that's about right. But my process begins at the root.
Yeah.
And then we work our way up from there. Because a lot of times we don't realize what we're holding on to. It's like this broken record that's just playing over and over in the background. Like when you're in a store, you don't hear what's playing on the speakers, right? Until something triggers you to realize, oh, I don't like that song. So that's basically how the subconscious mind works.
Everybody's different, of course, and is it, I have a goal, like you mentioned, is it quit smoking or losing weight, or I just don't feel right? There are a lot of people, I just want to go to the doctor because I want to feel better.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people want to feel better, but they can't figure out why they don't feel good in the first place. So the positivity factor, it plays yes.
Absolutely. Yes, a lot of people come in saying, I just don't feel myself. I just don't feel right. And like me, after about 40 years of carrying around all of your terrible experiences, terrible memories that you just keep reliving, you start to just feel bad and you're not really sure why. Everyone has a unique mixture they're carrying around, which is why my process does begin at the root of things.
So what Stephen goes through, obviously different from what I'm going through, but you're basically trying to figure out what those inhibitors are from allowing you to reach your maximum?
Absolutely.
Is that
and there's a process.
non-medical way of describing that? I'm sure you could break the neurons down from a medical perspective, but what's blocking me? And if you don't know, the people, I just don't feel it myself, you get the chance to, wait, I think I know. And let's talk about this a little bit more. And you get to hit some tender areas and scar tissue that's been covered up for years, but you got to get rid of the scar, don't you? You help to do that. Well,
we help to just approach that scar in a different way. We look back on all these old memories that we keep reliving, not to relive them, but to figure out, what's the knowledge you can gain from this experience that you can bring with you into your future to just do things differently and to just feel better. And to understand why what happened, and you're okay, the trauma's over, but you keep reliving it. If you can put that off to the side, it would allow you to have better relationships with everybody because you understand a little bit more thoroughly what that was, how you got through it, and why it was stopping you from being at your maximum potential. Sure. Right? Sure. Some of that, there's so many different avenues that this can go down. I'm really interested. Absolutely. There's a lot of techniques that I use too, and how we approach these memories, thoughts, or beliefs that people may be holding on to.
We're speaking with Dani Kortava. She is with Healing Hypnosis with Dani. And you talked about Harper kind of said something about suggestion. You kind of talked about techniques. And at the beginning, you did a great job of painting a verbal picture, almost like you talk to people for a living. It's amazing.
Wow. Go figure.
You painted this good verbal picture, but I want to go back to that a little bit. And I'd like to, again, as someone who's never experienced it, and especially one thing in particular, so this is what I latched onto that I'm going to ask you to go a little more deeper. And I guess it's two things I heard that I want you to break down a little bit more. And then if there are other things we want to go down to paint a better picture or a more fuller picture, let's do that. You talked about a zero gravity chair. So again, as I'm just finding out how ignorant and uninitiated I am because I've never sat in a zero gravity chair. So I want you to describe that a little bit. And then you mentioned planting seeds. I want you to expand on that phrase a little bit because I think I get what you're trying to say, but then I kind of want to go, yeah, you're going to need to tell me a little more about that before I, break down the walls as being a man, right? And before I get suggested to go do all the chores in the house. So first of all, let's start with the zero gravity chair. For somebody who's never done that, what can they look forward to?
Well, it's very comfortable, and you press this little lever, and it goes back. Actually, it goes very far back as you'd like, and then you can get your feet to go up too. Which
people will think, wait, I don't want to do that. That's scary. That's I'll tense up a little bit. What does the zero gravity do? Does that it just release it? It's a better position to be in. And I guess one of the things that's kind of going on in the back of my mind is there is someone I follow. I've listened to podcasts of his, and I've read some of his books, and he is trained in hypnosis. It's not his only thing. He does a lot of other things. And he has said at its core, hypnosis is suggestion. It is the power of suggestion. He's actually made the comment that, political talk and all that, there's hypnosis going on. It's the same concept. It's suggestion. So you're nodding and saying yes. Mm-hmm. So really your job is to put in the right suggestions to overcome some of these other suggestions that we didn't even know have taken hold in us or don't know why or can't figure out the connection to the past trauma. Am I saying that right?
Yes. So there's a process in approaching what it is that you believe now. So those limiting beliefs like, I'm a failure. And so there's a process of questions that I ask to figure out, well, what makes you feel like a failure? And so we really dive into those memories. And then we pivot to, well, what about memories of competence? What have you done right? And we focus on that because one of my mentors, Dr. Richard Bandler, has said something that really stuck with me. When we first go to school and we take a test, our teacher grabs that red pen and starts to circle and mark every single thing we've done wrong. And so we're handed pretty regularly a reminder of everything we've done wrong. And so society's sort of been programmed in this way where we just tend to focus on everything we've done wrong. And so it makes me wonder, what type of world would it be if we begin to focus on everything we've done right and really plant those seeds? Those are the seeds that I plant. All of your memories of competence, of what you have done right. Has anyone congratulated themselves for making it here safely today, for driving safely?
I didn't. Did you?
Not yet. Yeah. I'm going to think about it right now.
Well, it's a wonderful thing.
I know.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Right.
Dr. James Dobson, I remember this. He's probably not the first one to say it, but the first time I heard it was from him, so I give him credit for this. The average child needs to hear 12 positives for every one negative. So I owe my kids probably thousands and thousands of positives because I would say, no, you did that wrong. You struck out. Let's correct it. But I didn't do 11 others, if that makes sense.
Well, it's the gift that keeps on giving, for sure.
Yeah, so do you see that we are so negative around each other, around our kids, around our pets, around our loved ones, around our work environment? Can you imagine that, or it is from a business perspective, with higher level managers, C-level managers, there's a need for them to go, you're going to get a lot more out of your people if you treat them this way as opposed to that way.
Yep.
For you to be in a form of leadership, that's one thing, but then also from a person who needs a little more motivation to want to love work as much as they may desire to deep down, but they don't. She's nodding again. She's going, yeah, all the time. I see that all the time.
Yes, all the time. And like I said, society's just been programmed in this way. We don't realize that we're doing that, but we absolutely need that positivity.
I would imagine as you go through your life as a hypnotherapist, you have to maybe curb yourself from going, you really need to come sit in my zero gravity chair. I mean, it's...
Oh, it's a phrase we say, well, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Road rage on the freeway.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can help you with that.
So let's talk a little bit about your clientele.
Sure.
Kind of who are your ideal clients, and let's go ahead and we're not done with the interview. Normally we do this just at the end, but I think by this point there are certainly some people who go, tell me where she is, tell me how I can find her, or they've already Googled you. But kind of where do you serve your clients, and who are your ideal clients?
So I serve in Gwinnett as well as in Buckhead. I have offices in both locations. I do offer online through Zoom, but I do prefer in person. I think it's a lot more effective. I believe in sharing that energy and that space, and it allows people.
There's a relational aspect to
Sure.
this that if you're going to be face to face or in the same room, that counts, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, not that you can't do it over Zoom, but I think we've all come out of this period where we're like, there's something different about.
Yes.
And especially with what you're trying to accomplish. This
Yes.
isn't just, I'm going to give you some information, we're going to do a lecture. No, this really needs to be hands-on. Although you do it online.
I have.
So, yeah,
I
okay.
have, and it has been
All right.
effective as
Okay.
well.
All right.
Yes.
So Gwinnett County and in Buckhead. We'll give the exact addresses kind of toward the end. I did want to ask potentially one question. As my gimmick as the host is to say I am slightly annoying, which means I'm allowed to ask occasionally a question that might rile the guest just a little bit, or at least have the guest go, that's a stupid question. I'm allowed one a show. We're getting close to the back half of the show, so I feel very comfortable at this point asking this question. Are there people who their first blush or their reaction to what you do, maybe from a religious reason or maybe from some other very strongly held personal beliefs, there would be a stigma or a fear even of getting into hypnotherapy? Hey, that's a little too mystical or new agey or whatever other. I want to be careful of the adjectives because I don't want to get canceled. But I was just thinking, and my background would be from my personal held religious beliefs, it might make me go, I'm not sure. Do you come across that? And if so, what would you say to those people, maybe to help them break down that wall?
Sure.
Look at this?
I have experienced that. And, hypnotherapy can be very practical. It's all about how the mind works. So if you want to go down that spiritual, mystical side, sure, we can do that. But it also can stay very practical. So I see lots of religions come through my door,
Sure.
and they still benefit equally from it.
And I like the way you said that, because you've mentioned it in this interview. We really are just there's nothing quote unquote supernatural about this.
Mm-hmm.
You're really just trying to help the mind work better.
Yes.
And you're providing freedom through our own thoughts.
Yes.
And there would be people who go, well, wait a minute, I've heard my pastor talk about that, and there's an element of that as well. But you're not trying to compete with that.
Absolutely not.
You talked about practical tools. You talked about unlocking the brain a little bit. So and you've mentioned, Harper, you were talking about medical stuff. There's a medical aspect to this, correct?
Yes, there
Okay.
is. And, a lot of traditional therapists do learn a little bit about hypnotherapy as well. So, it's very useful and effective. It just isn't talked about as often.
The power of suggestion used for positive purposes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really enjoy the portion of being able to take either past memories, incidences, traumas that can be very effective and debilitating to a person, and for you to go, okay, you experience this. We're not eliminating that in any way, shape.
No.
We're not trying to minimize that,
No.
but it's time to move on. There's a grieving process when there's a death, and then there's got to be a day where you go, now I'm going to go live my life again. I will always miss whoever passed, but I need to. Even the dead person themselves would say, okay, it's time for you to move on. Let's go. And you help to arrange for that, don't you?
Yes, well, rethinking about some of these old painful memories, the brain is in survival mode. There's a reason why we keep doing this. We don't want to go through that again. And so my process is, well, why don't we just approach it in a different way so that is that strategy working for you? Going down, because every time you come upon a struggle, well, you're at a fork in the road. And you know what's down this path, this way of thinking, but what's down this path?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder what's further down that path waiting for you.
Do you find that some people just have a natural reaction? Oh, I just shut down when the stress gets too high.
Absolutely.
I can't handle it.
Yes.
And how do you deal with some of those types of incidences?
Well, techniques of getting them very relaxed, getting into their subconscious, and I'll have a conversation with their subconscious. A lot of times it might be their inner child.
Yeah.
It might be that 9-year-old or 12-year-old that experienced that one thing. And so that's why, like, why is this happening? Why can't I just do this? Well, it could be something deeper within.
Would you, like an invisible stop sign if you're driving? Oh, there's a stop sign and I've got to stop. But there is no stop sign. Mentally, you're seeing that because of the stress level or something like
Yes.
that. But it's clear highways for most people. You help to find that in the people who go, no, you keep going. Proceed. Don't slow down. Get through this.
Yes, well, creating a new pathway in your thought process, right, towards the better feeling stuff.
And I imagine the education aspect of this too. Now, here's the way the brain works: A, B, and C. You're doing A, but you're forgetting that B and C are also a part of this.
Yes.
Once people realize that, they have magic moments, don't they? Where they go, I didn't even know that was how I was reacting.
Yes.
And I get through it. Are those light bulb moments for people?
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of times, when people sit in my chair, I'll ask them, I'll say, what's something really great that happened to you? What's something that you've accomplished?
Oh, nothing. I've never had anything good happen.
Well, it takes them a minute. They go, wait, you want me to think of it now? Yeah, think of it right now.
Absolutely.
And they struggle. But if I say, well, name something that happened that was really bad. Oh, they can name 3, 4, 5 different things,
By the way, based on her past instruction, Harper, that was a fantastic illustration with that invisible stop sign. Great picture. Well done.
That's why I'm here.
There you go.
Yeah. It's not phenomenal. You didn't say it was phenomenal. We were going to save that for something.
Fantastic.
Yeah, when we talk about
I'll use fantastic
how important Dani's
for the 6th time
contribution here was to.
Absolutely. Dani, you've done such a good job of educating Harper and I, and you've done such a good job of explaining kind of what you do. I skipped over one of the most important questions we kind of always ask everybody. You did talk about the process, and you talked about setting up a program. Is there an introduction? Is there an introductory phone call?
Yes.
Someone thinking, how do I start? Is there a way I can start? We're not necessarily looking to get everything for free, but what's the let me test this out? Is that a conversation? Is that come in for the first session? And if you don't talk through that.
Yeah, so I do have a free consultation.
Okay.
It's about an hour. I walk you through the entire process. You share a little bit with me so I can understand what it is that you're experiencing.
Do we get to sit in the zero gravity chair?
Yes.
Oh,
For free? We
so
can sit in the
free
zero.
consultation
free.
for the zero gravity. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Well,
You
I'd
were-
like to go for a friend. Do you ever have that happen where they go, well, this is for somebody else?
Can I come
who
in
really
and talk
needs you."
about my husband?
Yes, that
yeah.
does happen occasionally. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Well, that's one thing that you share with pastors and churches and counselors. I got to come in. I got to talk about somebody else and their problems. But in all honesty, so there is a free consultation.
There is.
And you come in and that would be like with a counselor. You come in, just let's get a picture of what
Sure.
you're looking to accomplish, and then at the end of that consultation, will you be able to say with some form of confidence, I think 3 sessions, I think 6 sessions, I think 9.
Yes.
You'll be able to lay
Yes.
out that program.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If I get a feel of what it is you're experiencing, then it does help me guide you in the best way. And if I actually can or
Yeah.
not, depending on what it is that you need.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are some things that as a hypnotherapist you go, this is more than what hypnotherapy, or this could help, but this is only going to help in these ways, not maybe exactly what you're looking
Yes.
for.
Yes.
Okay.
That does happen.
And I'm imagining that honesty is absolutely critical here for you to be able to determine whether a person, I would imagine, from a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being you don't need any help, you're just fine, and 10 being where I would be, right?
Hot
You
mess.
need all the help you can
Hot
get.
mess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me.
So being candid and then being comfortable, as you said, but then also being truthful and honest in that, now this really hurt me here, or this, and it that doesn't happen easily. You mentioned how a lot of men will disguise or hide or not want to reveal certain things about their past,
Sure.
what they've been through.
Sure.
No, I'm not. My dad taught me never to cry, never show any emotion at all.
Yes.
So breaking, yeah, but it's okay.
Yes.
You can do that
well,
here.
throughout the program, some of the walls start to come down. And I've noticed that. Some other stuff will come up and they will share it with me. And that's why you're in the program. We have plenty of time to get to everything.
And so that leads to one very I think at times obvious question, but it's very important. Obviously, anything that's shared in your office, there's a confidentiality
Absolutely.
to the nature,
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay. That's incredibly important. I was getting that sense of trust, and so I just wanted to make sure and state that
Yes.
quite obviously. You can't get anywhere until there's a safe space. You mentioned that at the beginning, and part of that is a space of trust. Okay. Before we...
So even if I didn't want to know, she's not going to tell me all the stuff about you, all the deep secrets about you.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's called trust. And speaking,
Like when you gave your wife the vacuum cleaner for Valentine's Day.
I never did that. It was a dust buster. That is very different. That is a handheld. Okay, I'm sorry. Starting to let me do some.
I can help you with that.
That sounds like the perfect place to end this fantastic interview, which we could do another 2 hours, learn a lot more about it. But I'm going to encourage our guests to reach out to you. Dani, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you and your business and schedule that free consultation.
Sure. So my website is danikortava.com, or you can just
Spell
Google.
Kortava.
Oh, Kortava. Or you can Google Healing Hypnosis with Dani, and I'll pop up.
And by the way, Dani is Dani.
That's right.
So DaniKortava, DaniKortava.com. Dani, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for taking time to educate Harper and I. You did a fantastic job. Again, she's very confident in what she says. She knows what she's talking about. There was a little bit of suggestion in there, so very well done. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Harper, before we wrap up the show...
There's more?
There's more. Speaking of the power of suggestion, we all know that keeping your company's financial future on track means having the right resources to support your growth. Regions Commercial Banking, they can help you with things like lending capabilities and strategic solutions tailored to your financial needs, and you'll work with a team of experienced bankers here in Gwinnett. Discover steps to take that can help move you closer to your business goals. Regions is here to help. To learn more, visit regions.com/commercial-banking. Regions Bank, member FDIC. Harper, we usually have a little fun at the end, but actually you were saying something off air. I wonder if you could kind of just narrow down the story.
You mean the fact that I now have another thing to add to my bucket list, like a hyperbaric chamber? I've never been in one of those, and now I've never been in a zero gravity chair. Is that on your bucket list now?
It is now. It is now, that's for sure. But you were talking about this topic, and you were talking about the work you do at Georgia State Athletics. And you were talking to the team doctor. I would wonder if you could share that real quick as just kind of a follow-up story to what Dani was talking about and how important all this stuff is.
We just come from playing at Army, so we're at the airport kind of waiting to get on the plane, and there was the folks were ready, but they weren't quite ready. So I walk up to the team doctor, and we visit, and we talk about a couple things. And CTE is a real big issue now, and some other brain-related injuries. Mm-hmm. And I said, Doc, where are we now, in terms of the research and all that? And he said, we know so much more than what we did just a decade ago. It's just amazing to think of how much we've been able to uncover regarding injury to the brain and how we've been able to study, whether it be lab animals or human interaction from football. But yet we're still there's so much we don't know. So the more we know, we're realizing the more we don't know. So there's a two-edged sword with that, and that it's great that we're finding out things, but it's also kind of in a curious manner. We still have no idea how much more we need to learn. So Dani's importance here today to just understand and discover new things about the brain and how important it is for your just daily thought process to get through your life. It's just fascinating to me.
I like the bottom line that Dani is someone who has said, hey, I think I can help with that. And she'll be honest in the appraisal.
Could it be any easier than that? Yeah, I can help you. Who doesn't want any help?
Who doesn't want help?
Well, Mike Salmon doesn't want any help. Speaking
of which, we thank Mike for being such a fantastic producer of the show. Search us on your favorite podcasting platform. You can search for us online at Gwinnett RadioX. Mike has had enough. That's why he's playing the music, and we love him, and we thank him for putting Harper and I on the air. So for Harper, this is Steven. We'll catch you next time on Gwinnett Business Radio.